Hello and good evening everyone. My name is Nurzahidah Binti Zulkefli from the EC6F. Welcome back to my second commentary video for SOC 3533 subject. Today I'm going to talk about social stratification. I have chosen two heroes for this video, which are Madam C.J. Walker and Folorunso Alakija. These people are categorized under the entrepreneur field. For your information, Madam C.J. Walker was a businesswoman under a line of cosmetic and hair care products. Meanwhile, Folorunso Alakija involved in the fashion, real estate, oil, and printing industries. Before we move further about these heroes, I will explain about social stratification. Social stratification refers to a system by which a society ranks categories of people in a hierarchy. It is clear that some groups have greater status, power, and wealth than the other groups. These differences are what led to social stratification. Social stratification are based on four major principles which are a trait of society, not simply a reflection of individual differences. The second is social stratification persists over generation. The third, social stratification is universal but also variable. And lastly, it involves not just equality but belief as well. We will talk about form of stratification. Stratification are divided into four categories, which are slavery, caste, estates, and social class. So, Madam Walker fall under the slavery category. This is because her family and her older siblings were enslaved by Robert W. Birney on Madison Parish Plantation. She was the first child in her family born into freedom after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. Orphaned at the age of 7, Madam Walker moved to Vicksburg, Mississippi at the age of 10, where she lived with her older sisters and brother-in-law. Madam Walker started working as a child as a domestic servant. She also had only 3 months of formal education, which she learned during Sunday school literacy lessons at the church she attended during her earlier years. Meanwhile, Folorunso Alakija will fall under the upper class. This is because Folorunso was born to the family of Chief L.A. Ogbara in Okorodu, Lagos State. She also attended her nursery education at Our Ladies of Apostles from 1955 until 1958. At the age of 7, she traveled to the United Kingdom to continue her primary education at Dino Burns School for Girls in Haverfordwest Hall in Llangwni, Wales between 1959 until 1963. On completion of her primary education, she attended Muslim High School in Sagamu, Ogun State, Nigeria. Then, she returned to England for her secretarial studies at Pitman Centre College, London. Now, let's move on to the class consciousness. Class consciousness have two categories, which is bourgeoisie and proletariat. Both of the heroes, Madam Walker and Folorunso Alakija, falls under bourgeoisie class, which is capitalist class, where they have their own main production. We can see both Madam Walker and Alakija own their own company. Madam Walker made her fortune by developing and marketing a line of cosmetic and hair care products, where she founded Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company. As for Alakija, she establishing a tailoring company called Supreme Stitches. Besides that, she also owned an oil company called Famfa Limited. This proven that both of them are under bourgeoisie class. Let's move on to the false consciousness. False consciousness is attitude held by members of class that does not accurately reflect their own objective position. For class fast consciousness, we only have follow Runso Alakija, where at first her career was secretarial executive at Sejuade Enterprises, and then she moved to the former First National Bank of Chicago, which later became Finbank, now acquired by FCMB, where she worked for some years before establishing a tailoring company called Supreme Stitches. Now we can see that Folorunso did not further her career as a secretary, but instead she moved on to the fashion industries. Now we move on to the status. There's two types of status, which is achieve status and ascribe status. So, Madam Walker falls under the achieve status, which is social position that person attains largely through his or her own effort. We can see that Madam Walker struggled and have to work hard to achieve where she is now, which is she became the first female self-made millionaire in American Indigenous Book of World Records. Meanwhile, Alakija falls under the ascribed status, which means social position assigned to person by society without regard for the person's unique talent or characteristic. We can see Alakija started her career as an executive secretary at Sejuade Enterprises. Then she moved on to the former First National Bank of Chicago, where she worked for some years before establishing a tailoring company called Supreme Stitches and Oil Company Famfa Limited. Now is prestige. We can see Madam Walker have high prestige because she became an entrepreneur, where she also recorded as the first self-made billionaire in the Guinness Book of Records. Meanwhile, Alakija also falls under the highest prestige, where she is a Nigerian billionaire businesswoman. Now, let's move on to the esteem. For the esteem, both of them is businesswoman, where they start their own company. For as example, Madam Walker start her own hair care product after she learned about hair care product from her brother, while Alakija have to work for several years before she establishing a tailoring company and also oil company. Next is poverty line. For Madam Walker, she is fall under relative poverty underclass. Meanwhile, Alakija fall under the wealth. Now, let's move on to the life chances. There's two types of life chances, which is disadvantages and advantages. So we can see Madam Walker was disadvantages for her life chances because firstly, she was born in a family where her parents and siblings were enslaved. Then she became orphan at age of 7 and started working as a child as a domestic servant at the age of 10. She also had 3 months of formal education. Meanwhile, Alakija falls under the advantages because she was born to the family of Chief L.A. Ogbara, and she also attended her nursery education at Our Ladies of Apostle. At the age of 7, she traveled to the United Kingdom to continue her primary education and move on. And for her to complete her primary education, she attended Muslim high school. Then she returned to England for her secretarial studies at Pitman Centre College. Now, social mobility. There's 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 4 types of social mobility, which is horizontal mobility, vertical mobility, intergenerational mobility, and intergenerational mobility. Now, Madam Walker fall under the vertical mobility, which means movement from one position to another of a different rank. As we can see, Madam Walker started as domestic servant and then she moved on as a commission agent. Now, after all of her hard work, she started her own company and founded Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company. This proven that Madam Walker's social mobility is vertical mobility. Now, let's move on to the Alakija social mobility. Alakija social mobility is horizontal mobility. Horizontal mobility means movement within same range of prestige. We can see Alakija has started her own career as a secretarial, and after several years she started her own company called Supreme Stitches. Now let's move on to the stratification system. There's 2 types of stratification system, which is open system and closed system. Madam Walker falls under the open system. Both of the Madam Walker and Folorunso Alakija falls under the open system, which is position of each individual influenced by the person's achieved status. As we can see, both of them have achieved their own company after many years of hard work. So that is all from me. Thank you.